Production and distribution of City Club forums on IdeaStream Public Media are made possible by PNC and the United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland, Incorporated.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland, where we are devoted to conversations of consequence that help democracy thrive. It's Friday, May 3rd, and I'm Kristen Baird-Adams, President of the City Club Board of Directors. On behalf of City Club CEO Dan Moulthrop, the staff and board, it is my honor to introduce today's forum featuring the 5 extraordinary, trailblazing women to my right. Last month, billionaire philanthropist MacKenzie Scott announced she was gifting $640 million to more than 360 nonprofits out of 6,000 that responded to an open call for applications. It was another round of jaw-dropping and transformative gifts that Scott pledged to donate following her divorce from Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos. On the receiving end, here in Cleveland, are 4 nonprofit organizations providing an even more powerful catalyst for equitable community impact across Cleveland. Each of these organizations shares a mission that aligns with Scott's goal to advance the voices and opportunities of individuals and families of meager or modest means, and groups who have been met with discrimination and other systemic obstacles. This work has never been more important. Joining us here today are the leaders of these 4 organizations. Phyllis Harris, Executive Director of the LGBT Community Center of Greater Cleveland. Jazmin Long, President and CEO of Birthing Beautiful Communities. Jill Rizika, President and CEO of Towards Employment. And Denise VanLeer, Executive Director of the Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. Moderating the conversation is City Club board member and Senior Vice President for Advancement at the Cleveland Foundation, Lita Obertaz. If you have a question for our panelists, you may text it to 330-541-5794. That's 330-541-5794, and the City Club staff will do its best to work it into the second half of the program. Members, friends, and guests of the City Club of Cleveland, please join me in welcoming Phyllis, Jazmin, Jill, and Denise, and of course, Lita.
Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I want to just start off and let you all know that we didn't coordinate our outfits today, and we didn't mean to leave Denise out. We all said, usually none of us wear this color, so it's meant to be, it's serendipity, and I hope you are as excited as I am today to be with these powerful, amazing, impactful leaders. I feel a little nervous. We have local member or comedian Molly Shannon from SNL. I just kind of want to do this the whole time. I did it, I won't do it again. So let's get going. To our panelists, I have a few questions for you. How did you feel when this happened? A few words, what was your initial response?
Well, I came into it while Gulnar Firasa, who is our managing director at the LGBT Community Center, was reading the email that we sent to the entire staff. I was late to team meeting. And I was probably on a call with one of you all or something. And so I kind of like saunter up to the second floor, knowing I'm late, and the team is already there meeting, and G, we call her, is sitting at the table, leaned over her phone and reading the letter that was sent to myself and Gulnar, and it was just so calm and surreal, and one of our team members went and got, every time we get a donation, you know, that we worked hard on, and that, you know, tells us that the community believes in what we're doing and is willing to invest with us, we ring a bell. and someone ran and got the bell, and we celebrated. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the process, but we've been working towards this for many years, and so it really feels like we're being seen, we're credible in terms of our leadership and the work that we do, and so it was a great moment.
Right.
So calm is not how I would characterize our, but the email came to myself and to Dora, who you heard from earlier. And usually, you see the heading and it's an email and you're thinking, it's never going to be, it's an email, it's never going to be yes, because if it's this kind of impact, you're going to get a phone call, right? And so actually her office is right next to mine, and we opened it, and I think, there was squealing and dancing and high-fiving. And the other piece is that there was a message in there that said, the money will be transferred to your account on file on March 14th, which is my birthday. So, best birthday ever. So, yes.
Well, for us, I got the email, and even though we had applied, I got the email, and I guess I was stunned. So I looked at it, and I was like, is this real? And so I asked the staff person, she was like, oh my God, is this real? And so we're like, we did apply. And so literally, it took us a minute. It really did take us a minute. I'm like, we gotta call somebody, is this real? It was wonderful, we were stunned, and reached out to our finance manager, and he said, is this real? So, it was wonderful. We were stunned. We really were stunned. But after we got over there, I also had COVID, so I wasn't feeling that well. And so I actually didn't talk to somebody there till the next week. And she's like, I'm glad you're feeling better, but yes, you'll get the check. And I was like, oh, this is awesome, but yes.
So I was like Phyllis. I was not late to a meeting, but I was sitting in a meeting doing something I shouldn't be doing, which is checking emails. And I see the word embargoed until whatever the day was embargoed until, and I'm like, oh, that looks like good news to me. So let me open this email, and all I can say is I screamed in this office. And so my coworkers are like, okay, this is a money scream. That's what my coworkers described it. Okay, that's a money scream. And so I just got so excited. We were laughing, we were crying, because I did not think we were going to get this. I mean, 6,500 some odd applications for this grant. And for us to be awarded out of 361 is just absolutely out of this world. And you have to celebrate in the moment. So I said, for everyone that was in that office, cancel your day. Like, cancel your day. Whatever the meeting is, we're going out, we're going to lunch, we're going to have a good time. We are going to celebrate this incredible win that we all worked so hard to get. And that is exactly what we did. We left the office, we shut it down, we went and sat in a restaurant for a couple of hours and just had lunch and really celebrated and were with one another, because this was a team effort to get this opportunity.
Fantastic. So I'm sure you've all noticed everybody is talking about an application process. And here in this area, we have been blessed by having about 6 other nonprofits who have been gifted money from MacKenzie Scott. So from 2020 to 2023, there are other charities who have received dollars. Are any of them in this audience today? Yes, legal aid's right there. Thank you, thank you. Congrats. So that was the first round of gifts from 2020 to 2023. Now there's this new portal and website, Yield Giving. Yield Giving, MacKenzie Scott's new organization, means to add value by giving up control. To add value by giving up control. Manifest that, right? That's hard. That's hard. So tell us, lovely panelists, powerful women, what was this application process like? We need to know. Jazmin.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank my colleagues Emily and Chantel, who really worked on the application process for us. There was, of course, the actual grant proposal, right? But then we had to make a video, and I will tell you, this is why I had seen another organization's video for this grant, and that's when I said we didn't get it. Because I'm very cognizant about putting moms and babies on display. So when we do a lot of promotion at BBC, we really never put our moms and babies on display. So the video was just me and my colleagues really talking about what we do. But I guess that speaks to impact, right? Because just from our words, we were able to get this funding, but I really wanted to be thoughtful. We spent a lot of time thinking about what we would write about, how we would display ourselves, how we would talk about what we do. And then on top of that, like, we were in North Carolina for a Bank of America conference, Chantel and I, and we met with another organization that was kicked out of the process because you had to do reviews. And they were so many steps that if you missed one step, you were kicked out. And so I was so proud of my team for just continuing to stay on top of everything that was required of us to even stay in the process, and I'm sure all of us were really happy for that. So it was a very lengthy process. We found out a year after we applied, so you almost forget, and some of them will share their experiences, but I did not even budget for this because I just truly thought it was not something that was gonna happen for us. So, Denise?
So the same with us, it was very different. And thanks to Alicia Memoran on my team, so we worked together to put it together, but it was a lot of steps, and I compare it to a kaboom playground. I don't know if any of you have ever built a kaboom, but you never know what's gonna happen until you get to the next step. So you didn't know, so you had to keep on going, but as Jazmin said, they wanted short answers. So you really had to think about how you were relaying what you did and the impact, so that, that was the first thing. And then you waited, and then you would get an email that said, congratulations, you're moving to the next round. And I think the thing I appreciated about it the most is that we got the opportunity to review 5 other organizations' applications. And then you also got the feedback from the 5 organizations that reviewed your application. And so it really, some of the reviews pointed out, oh, maybe we didn't say this good enough, or I think that was the best part of the whole thing. But it was very different. I appreciated that it wasn't 5,000 characters. The answers were very short. But yes, it just kept going on and on and on. And it was just very different from anything we've ever done. Yeah, very unique.
So I think 2 things to highlight from our process, but first to call out to Adora Shmita, who led the process with Laura Desmonds and the rest of the team's support. But I think the 2 things, one is that peer review. So the idea that others who were applying had a chance to look at 5 other applications and give feedback, and really valued, right, grassroots commentary in terms of making those decisions. So that was one piece of it. The other piece is that this was an opportunity when in terms of the questions that they were asking, what they really valued was making sure that this is an organization that's rooted in community, that they wanted to invest in an organization that was truly having a community impact. A lot of the larger philanthropy that we see are opportunities that are talking about scaling, scaling in other communities. Here's a model, how can you do that in 10 more cities, right? You see so many organizations doing that. And this was an investment that said, we want to value work that's going on in your community, how can you deepen it and get greater impact in your own community? So we really valued just the whole opportunity, and again, to be able to benefit from it. It's very exciting.
I have a similar story in that, what was the tagline for MacKenzie, Scott?
To add value by giving up control.
To add value by giving up control. I have no idea what the process was like. But here's what I know. Here's what I know. I have an amazing team, and part of that is our team is Gomar Firasta, who works with Lane Rowan, our consulting team that helps us strategize around the funding that we seek from foundations. So mostly the grant funding aspect. William Marion is our development director and handles the rest. But definitely Gulnar is paying attention. And so we knew that the process started in May of last year. And where my board leadership comes in terms of their support and how much they believe in the work that we do and our leadership collectively as a team, when we would go and we were working out what our 2024 budget would be, we would say to them, we're going to do this, that, this. We were working with strategy design partners around our strategic plan. We knew that we wanted to build capacity around our staff, and we were making moves. And we would say, but don't worry about it, because we're going to get $1 million from MacKenzie Scott. Every meeting, to the point that, you know, we had to believe it. Earlier today, I sent a text message to some folks on my team, and I said, who's the artist that painted the mural by our building that means so much to us? That mural says "Dream Big." The artist is Lisa. I'm gonna mess up her last name, Quinn or Quine, and we look at that mural every day that we're in that building, and we see people come and take their photos. But we dream big as an organization about what we are worthy of. And so the process, you know, the technical aspects, please reach out to Gulnar quickly. She's for that part. But you know, we are the point that I want to get across is we are worthy of investment. We are worthy of a gift like this. Not our first transformational gift, but certainly a transformational gift that we continue to need as we continue our work going forward. And so this started 50 years ago. We are celebrating as an organization 50 years as one of the first LGBTQ centers established in the nation. Be proud, Cleveland. We're third, right? And so this process started when the first people were bold enough to be out and start Gear, the magazine that we started, and transformed, and the magic that was made in the basement, and the people who worked for years in the basement before we moved to the center where we are now. And so that's all part of our process and part of the legacy of the folks, some of which are in this room, who invested in the center. So thank you to the due diligence of my team, of Gulnar, Lane Rowan, but also the good work that my team does and the great leadership that my board has. We're worthy, all of us, of these types of gifts. We are grateful to MacKenzie Scott and Yield Open Call for sure, and let's keep it up. Let's keep up the work.
So before COVID times, you and I got together, and yes. Phyllis and I were texting last night, trying to remember where we met. No idea. I can't think of the restaurant's name. However, the conversation was that you wanted to build up your development chops and your development staff.
Yes.
And you have, and you all have. So congrats on that, because you see the value of doing that. Mm-hmm. So I just... Yeah. There's something really different about the MacKenzie Scott gifts. I believe the gifts are coming in one check, and the gifts are unrestricted.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. How is that a game changer? What are you going to do with this transformational gift? And what do you want to share with the group about that? Jill.
So I think everybody in this room can understand the value of what that means to get something of that size, and certainly relative to our budget in one lump sum, and the opportunities that represents. So on the first step in doing this, obviously, was working, you know, with our board and thinking about how to be the best stewards of these resources, and thinking about the stability and making sure that we are in a healthy place to continue to have great impact. But the fun stuff more was then thinking through, we really wanted to have a participatory process and get as many voices into the process as possible. So that means actually, you know, we're not making any really, really quick announcements or decisions, but we are thinking in terms of some short-term, medium-term, and long-term impact. We just, I feel very energized by, we had a all-day staff retreat actually just this week, on Monday, which had already been planned, so it was perfect timing. And we spent a lot of that time brainstorming and thinking again about priorities, about feasibility, about what could be easy to execute, what's going to be the highest impact but needs a lot more research, maybe demonstration, piloting, so that we can figure out again how to maximize the impact to our communities. Just to share some of the ideas, I mean, ranging from thinking about how members of the community come to us in the start of their journey, and many are housing unstable or coming from shelters or from places where they don't have access to clean clothes. So ideas from, do we need a washer and dryer in our suite, to help people feel more comfortable and take care of that immediate need, to thinking about what are the career pathways of the future that we haven't even thought about yet, that we need to begin investing in exploration and in partnerships and on our capacity to be able to deliver new ways for people to connect to family-sustaining wages and careers. So our board obviously is going to be very involved in the process. We have an alumni council that will also weigh in. So it's just an exciting time. And the goal is to really balance how we can, there's so many immediate needs that we can do something in this short term, but that we're really investing and thoughtful about and strategic about what the next investments will be.
So what about you?
Yes, so we actually, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to a board member who alerted us to the opportunity and when it was due. So Walter Sandland, he's not here, but thank you. But we started actually planning when we applied. So we do physical development, so we always have big ticket items. We also do programs. So we always had a plan A, and then when MacKenzie Scott comes in, we had a plan B. So that's how we did it. We really didn't change from, so this was at the board level, what we should do, the priorities, what would be most impactful. And so we did start, when we actually applied, we thought about what we would do with those dollars. And so our dollars, I already know, we own an office building where Catholic Charities in the county is one of our tenants. And so some capital repairs there. We also do a program for low-income seniors that own their homes that can't afford to do maintenance. So we will use some of the dollars there. Also, we adopt families at Christmas in the neighborhood that they actually can't afford to have Christmas. So some of the dollars will go there, as well as workforce programs and computer literacy. Those, yes.
So it's important, I think, to note that, like, as a grassroots organization, BBC really goes above and beyond for the clients that we serve. So even in the last fiscal year, we provided a little over $100,000 in rental assistance, really anything that the clients could potentially need. And so these unrestricted dollars give us the flexibility to do the things that are an immediate need for the clients that don't have restrictions around them. As a younger, kind of, they would say, startup nonprofit, a lot of the grants that we get sometimes have very specific parameters around them, and we get a lot of government funding as well, which make it hard to really do what the clients actually need. So these dollars will allow for us to do really anything that is needed for the clients. Additionally, as Jill and I laughed about, just amongst 200 of a few of our closest friends, we are on a capital campaign for our birth center. And one of the things that, the other thing that foundations will say to you besides scalability, they'll talk to you about sustainability. And so what I wanted to do and talk to my finance people and my board chair is, like, we're going to use $1 million of this because we only thought we were getting $1 million. So that other $1 million, out of sight, out of mind, we're going to actually establish an endowment for the organization. Because long when I'm not at the organization, I want this organization to be here in perpetuity, and that's how you start to see real sustainability for an agency. So I'm very excited. And the other thing that I did, because that money all came in one tranche, I reached out to my bank and I said, can you increase the interest rate on our money market account so that we stay here? And they did increase our percentage rate. So I hope all of you ladies did that as well, because that is another smart way to help just bring in more income for the agency as that money sits in our bank.
Fantastic.
Well, there are elements in everything you all said that was discussed in our first strategy meeting to discuss what we're going to do with this amazing unrestricted gift yesterday. And we want to have, it is a transformational gift, and the idea is to create impact. So we want to do something where we can be really impactful right off the, out the gate, if you will, but not without really taking time to think it through. And so we had a conversation about 3 buckets around how Gonnar thinks, we can use these funds, unrestricted funds, strategically. We talked to my chair of finance is here, and director of finance is here today to listen and learn and build ways to think about how to have the most impact in the most significant way. So that is potentially some direct support. I mentioned a strategic plan, and so we have our sort of like guideline about what we're going to be doing next. Our East Side presence is already happening. We get to enhance that and think about that strategically. Our 50th anniversary is happening next year, so we get to plan starting tomorrow. It's actually May 8th is the actual date, but our celebration will be later. But for me, I have 1 year. We have 1 year to plan our 50th celebration. We have an endowment that we established when we acquired our building, and so we understand the importance of that, and so we'll be considering that. There are things that we want to do in terms of an organization that has had the kind of growth and need for infrastructure and capacity, and so we decided that we would take our time. We don't have to rush. The decisions that we are going to make together with board leadership and staff leadership and input from the information that we receive through our strategic planning process that allowed for us to come up with the 4 goals that we have. And then we know that there's some more information that is going to be really critical to our direction going forward soon, and that's through the community health need. There's an LGBTQ community health needs assessment that is wrapping up that we'll be able to learn so much from, and then use that information. So data-driven opportunity strategies, thinking about our 50 years allows for us to think about how do we take this gift to help us maintain for 50 more years. And so, and what does it say, and how loud and visible do we want to be about it so that we encourage people to continue to invest in this way. So this is not something that is one and done for us. I mean, we celebrate it. I bought some lunches, and I'm sorry I didn't take you all clothes for today, but
let's go out.
But we also really want to take our time and think through this in a way that is meaningful, and know that we also have a budget. It's time for budget review, to begin to put together our draft budgets for 2025. And so we have a timeline to be able to present something to our community stakeholders by September about how we're going to strategically use this money. So we have a due date about when it come to the board to say this is it, and with our recommendations. But certainly we're going to take our time and figure it out, because there's so much that can happen, and it's important.
Seems like
if I could just add one more thing. So we all forgot this, but there's absolutely no reporting with this grant.
Yes.
No reporting.
No homework. We're just going to watch and celebrate and honor you.
But we know how. We know how to report.
Right.
We know how to report.
So there likely will be some reporting that's built internal around,
Yes.
ensuring that we are, paying attention.
Yes.
But sure.
Correct. So it sounds like, measure twice, cut once. You're doing it. You're working on your strategy, data, making decisions based on data.
Yeah.
With the MacKenzie Scott gifts through Yield Giving, she's given about $17 billion to 2,300 nonprofits since around 2020. 2022 Giving USA stats say that there's $500 billion given to nonprofits in 2022. $500 billion were given out. Just remember that. 80% of those dollars are from individuals. Make sure you are always talking to everybody around you. It's just a reminder in that we as individuals can make a huge difference in our nonprofit, with our nonprofit friends in this area. We have to go to the Q&A. It's 12:30. Thank you, Dan. We're about to begin the audience Q&A. For our live stream and radio audience, or just joining in, I'm Lita Obertaz, Senior Vice President for Philanthropy at the Cleveland Foundation and moderator for today's conversation. Joining us today is leadership from 4 organizations that received gifts from MacKenzie Scott's latest round of historic philanthropic giving. Phyllis Harris, Executive Director of the LGBT Community Center of Greater Cleveland. Jazmin Long, President and CEO of Birthing Beautiful Communities. Jill Rizika, President and CEO of Towards Employment. And Denise VanLeer, Executive Director of Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. We welcome from everyone, City Club members, guests, students, and those joining us via live stream at cityclub.org or radio broadcast 89.7, WKSU, Idea Stream Public Media. If you'd like to text a question for our panelists, please text it to 330-541-5794. That's 330-541-5794. And City Club staff will try to work it into the program. May we have the first question, please? Thank you, Scott.
Good afternoon. So good to see so many friends on stage and give you the opportunity to share your voices. So this is a huge opportunity for your organizations to have value added. How do you ensure your current donors that A, the money gets put to good use, but they continue to give and support your organization and not view this as a reason to stop giving?
Yes. Yes. Don't stop.
I'd like to jump in because I neglected to mention this earlier. But to that point, Towards Employment, as others, is actually organizing its very first, we call it a capacity campaign. We have been in the quiet phase, and actually, again, among us friends, we're about to go public, the first to know. So we have had a strategic plan, vision outlined in the strategic plan, and then this campaign, which has laid out a longer-term vision to see how we could grow our impact. So this really gives us an opportunity to accelerate the work around that strategic plan and the goals of that campaign. As you know, campaign monies come in through pledges and over 3 years. That's very different than getting one lump sum. So the vision for expanding impact has been already built into our DNA and how we've been operating going forward. The idea of this campaign was to allow us to move forward. This allows us to accelerate that. It also just gives us just a little bit more room and flexibility to bring more voices into the conversation. So the need is great. One of the things that Jazmin mentioned is when people, again, come to programming, we're a workforce organization, and it's about jobs and skills, but they come with many other needs. They come from the communities, they come out of facing a range of what we call social determinants of work, you know, whether it's the stable housing, transportation, childcare, criminal justice involvement, and all of those things need to be supported. And how is it in any one of our organizations, they show up for one service, you can align those supports so that they can continue to move forward for the reason they originally came to you for. And so it's coordination, it's collaboration, but sometimes you just need a fund to be able to respond to that. So I wanted to echo one of the things that we have had an opportunity to pilot is a special fund to help pay off fees and fines that people get through the criminal justice system, and that then causes people to lose their driver's license. Yes. So holds you back in just so many ways. And so how do we build that? But how do we also partner and think about how that kind of thing can be sustainable? So there, please don't please don't think that all our needs are met. Please keep coming to the table and talking with us.
And can I piggyback on that? And just to say that this whole concept of making sure we use the money right, making sure we do this correct, that's actually nobody's business. And furthermore, I mean, seriously, if we were selected out of 6,500 whatever agencies and we put the hard work and talked about how we would spend these dollars, if MacKenzie Scott can trust us to do the dollars correctly, then the community should trust us to use these dollars correctly. We all care so deeply and we are all so committed to the communities that we serve and to whatever population we serve, whatever neighborhood we serve, to make sure that we provide exactly what is needed to make our communities thrive. And so I think that is very important to know, and we should really shift the narrative around that a little bit and to continue making sure that philanthropy understands that there's a whole range of needs in Cuyahoga County alone. And so this money, and it's funny because it's $2 million, but at the end of the day, you know, BBC's budget is $5 million. And so these are drops in the bucket when you really think about the expansive needs of our community here.
Yeah. I also appreciate that perspective, and I feel like when we discuss this, because it is a common concern, that I really believe in the funding community and individual donors. We're not going to take it for granted that they understand this. We will do our part in educating folks about how nonprofits operate and the challenge that we face as nonprofit leaders. That you all know. You know that you can't stop investing in these organizations, especially when we receive these types of gifts. We all, two folks talk about being in the quiet phase of a campaign. We're in a quiet phase of our campaign. One of the things, it's really quiet, right? But we're working hard, and that gift allows us to really, again, strategize in a way to have impact both for the community, but for our organization and its sustainability. And so part of that is looking at what, if we take to account that the number of anti-LGBTQ attacks and legislation against our rights and protections, we're going to need to invest. There's a constant campaign. So this is a comprehensive campaign. So we'll raise the $2.7 to $3 million that we typically raise for our operating, and then we're going to add a little bit more to it to get to about $10 million. That's very brand new, but not so much now. You know, in the early stages of figuring this out, it coincides with what we're doing in terms of our organizational redesign and to build capacity and succession planning. I've been serving as executive director of the center for 12 years. I'm thinking 15 is a good year, you know, like, so over, you know, three years of really, you know, focusing on this campaign to raise money around sustainability. I have a stellar staff and team. And so, you know, really, I'm thinking again strategically, expecting that at least the foundation community, and we'll do our part like we are today with these opportunities and educating our stakeholders that this is the time to invest. We know that you don't like investing in sinking ships, and we're not doing that. We got it, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Years ago, I worked with someone who said fundraising is never done, and it stuck with me ever since. We are going to work forever, and then after we work, our organizations keep going without us because we've worked so hard. Next question.
Good afternoon. I'm Eliana Gorman with MSC Squared STEM High School. I was wondering, during the last question, you guys talked about investing in the community. One of the ways that one would be able to is employment and outreach. How have you guys been able to pilot or start programs that are investing in employment and outreach?
So I'll take that. So we actually officially, so we've always helped people get jobs, but we officially started a workforce program back in 2012, and it just continues to grow. Is a huge need in the communities that we serve. People need jobs, people need training, people need all the things that they need to be able to apply for a job. to have this, to even know how to apply for a job. So in the communities that we serve, a lot of people don't have computers or access to computers, or they can't afford the internet. So, you know, you have to think about all of that and help people get to where they need to be. So the need continues to grow, and we always need dollars to help do those things for those people. So our program has grown. We collaborate with everybody because you just have to. Nobody can do it all by themselves. So that's something that's very important to us, and I'm sure, I know Jill, but everybody.
It's towards employment.
But, yes, right. But, you know, it's a huge need, and it's getting harder and harder. And we get more and more requests. So we always get more requests than we have funding for. So Jill, the workforce.
Thank you. So thank you for that question. And so because we've been talking about so many needed community supports, I'm just going to share another part of our work. So in thinking about certain phrases, there are a couple different phrases that we always try to keep in mind. And one is that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And the other one is it's not just about fixing the worker, but also fixing the work. And so I just wanted to share that we are working individually with job seekers and addressing challenges, building skills, connecting to employers, providing coaching and wraparound services so they can advance. But they're doing that within a system. And it's a system that is not working very well. And so some of the work also is with employers and thinking about what is their approach to hiring and retaining more diverse talent, right? If they are struggling to find workers, are they taking a look at themselves? Are there policies and practices that could be changed to, again, do a better job of attracting and retaining and creating more opportunities for the talent that we have? And then there's work sort of at the policy level as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we raised that working at the systems level and policy change can help really magnify impact, and that's an important part of our work as well.
I think in terms of the center, yesterday we had a dissemination day. Is that what we call it, Golnar? With our young people who participated in a program for a year and a half where they learned participatory, community-based research. So they each presented 7 of 11 who started the program. So attrition was very little in comparison for high schoolers who are staying with the program for a year and a half where they're learning about research. And one of the questions as they presented their projects to us all was, you know, how many of you are interested in research now? And many of them raised their hand, and they were so you know, smart about their projects and the impact that they wanted to have based on the research and the data that they were getting. So that's one of the ways we invest in young people. We have a life skills program because we realize that many queer young people are pushed away from their homes and maybe miss that step about some of the basics that some of us take for granted that my son knows over there. He better know about checking and, and things like that. But we take it for granted. And so we've developed a program. One of our team members, Ray Jackson, saw the need and developed a program that has taken off and to really give young people the skills. And we truly, one of the things that came up in our strategy meeting yesterday was from our board leadership is how do we invest in the people that we work with. We hire a lot of young people. There's a whole bunch of Gen Zs and a whole lot of interns that come through. It might be an opportunity to look at paid internships for our program. But anyway, so we invest in that way. Sometimes it's one-by-one around leadership development. Sometimes it's through the, Golnar and the programs team looking at our programming through the lens of social determinants of health, about what people need to build up their strengths so that they can be productive and civically engaged, young people, and take on the leadership. We are part of a movement around change. We're part of the nonprofit sector and have values and missions. And so we want to teach young people this. We want to invest in giving them the skills to be self-sufficient.
I feel like this is like almost a planted question, because the other part of our MacKenzie Scott video was really talking about how at Birthing Beautiful Communities, yes, we are a HHS, Health and Human Services Agency, but we're also a workforce development agency, because we hire, we train, we hire, and we employ. So we are a doula agency. And I will say the way that our organization works, about a fourth of our staff is former doulas who were inspired by either receiving services from the organization, who wanted to help their community, who now serve as administrative staff members. And so 7 was kind of hinting at this, but with that comes an additional layer and needed supports around professional development and access and all of these things that we have to support to really build my team up to ensure that these are some of the most highly qualified staff persons here in Northeast Ohio, right? Like, I want to have the best possible folks working for me, and I'm willing to build them. And I want to, and to build, I love being with her, and to be able to build them up to be dynamic. I was in a meeting yesterday with one of my coworkers, and she was like being timid at first, and I was like, spit it out, and then she's like, got me together, and I said, boom. That's how I know I'm effective, right? When I can see they are like, Jazmin, you're like really struggling to make this decision, do it. Okay, and I can do it. So really training people up, providing them with the skills needed, investing in the Black women that work with me, that I'm supporting, that I'm ensuring make at least $20 an hour, that I'm paying a livable wage, that we're taking care of health insurance when needed. And it was so funny, our benefits person, when we got this grant, that was the other thing. Right now we're able to pay for our employees' health insurance. And I emailed our benefits person and was saying we were gonna have to change our policy, and she said, God is good. And so that was just such an incredible moment to be able to do these things that are, to some, unconventional, but I know, as doulas, I know as Black women what we're dealing with. We're probably taking care of each other as staff. We're taking care of our family members at home. We're taking care of extended family members, children, husbands, and all these different things. And so if we can take a little stress off at work and reduce that kind of toxic stress, then I know that we're making a difference. So it's very important to invest in your staff. It's very important to help bring in young people to build them up as well.
Great. Yeah. And now everybody in this room is here because you're interested in philanthropy, you're a philanthropist, you're a civic leader. Just remember to take time to also help mentor people who are younger than you and people within your building, or people who are at other nonprofits. One of our famous, fabulous mentors is Cecilia Render. You're up next.
I didn't know I was being called.
I know. She is.
Tell a story really quickly before Cecilia asks her question. As a new executive director, I got an opportunity to provide training for the City of Cleveland police officers in advance of the gay games. And it dropped in the basement into my lap, and there was all these small p politics happening around it that I was naive to and didn't understand. And I'm thinking, I'm new, I'm gonna do this, right? My brother is a City of Cleveland police officer, activist, asks me lots of questions about that all the time. I stand with him in his professionalism, and I saw it as an opportunity to say, here's how you want to engage with LGBTQ people around this monumental event that is about to happen. This is this is 2013. And I sent emails to folks, and I asked for some money to be able to cover the cost of my leaving my organization as a new ED to go and do this. It's I started 2012, 2013. Guess who answered that call? It was not in there. It was not. We were in Cleveland, and it was $2,500. Other people said no. And I'm a superstar because of this. Thank you.
Your questioner, lady.
Well, I guess all of this kind of ties into it, because Jazmin talked about it earlier, and MacKenzie Scott basically does trust philanthropy. And so how can we, as the philanthropy funding group, move more towards becoming? What do we need to do to help you, or you to help us understand how that's what's going to help us move forward together?
You guys are having, similar conversations with one another. I mean, when you look at the diversity of our organizations in terms of how long we've been around, what we do, how we do it, and how we report out the data, I think this really is a moment in time for Cleveland and to help move things forward. So I think it's the trust, but also for us as nonprofit leaders to also work with our other nonprofit practitioners to say, hey guys, even if it's not a significant or super fancy annual report, put an annual report out. We can do it both ways. It doesn't have to be just some philanthropy. We can also, as nonprofits and the nonprofit industry, also do our part as well.
And I think one other thing for the funding community is to, if you could talk to us and get our perspective on what people really need. And I know depending on what bucket you fall in, some of you might not be able to do that, but that would be very helpful to make our relationships better and more impactful.
And if I could just, one other thing I think, because it characterizes, characterizes, I think, across our organization, and that is hiring people with lived experience who reflect, either have graduated from our programs, who live in the neighborhoods that we are working in. And so that also is a big feeder into a trusted relationship, in the sense that we are working with community interests for the community, and that we have the community voice guiding our work.
Yeah. Part of that trust is relationship building, and as fundraisers, we're always building up our relationships, so it's not about just reaching out to somebody saying, hey, can I have this money from you? No, they know it's coming because you've been having conversations, you've been sharing the highs and the lows of your organization throughout the journey. Jennifer Hurd tells me that all the time. Merle.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Teaching is challenging work. I did it for 40 years. And we have some state legislators who behave as if they really hate transgender children and their families. So my question to you, Ms. Harris, is do you do any training or any professional development for educators to help us make sure that the LGBTQ population, that they know they're worthy of being loved?
Yes. I really do appreciate that question. Thank you for that question. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about some of our services at the center. But one of them that we are proud of is our advocacy and training and research. I think we're going to get this right. Education and advocacy programming. Again, I'm feeling, I guess, nostalgic. I know that there's this 50 years coming up, and so I think about my part in this 50 years and coming to the center. And prior, there was a training program where they did LGBT 101 or LG. I don't even know if they got to the T training by then. And I didn't understand what was going on because nothing was going on with it. And we have since built an incredible training program where we are able to provide training to health and human services organizations, medical professionals, teachers. We actually have training in the schools for the students in Lorain County, but also provide training for teachers. We've been to PEP for training. There are lots of organizations here that has received some of our training. During COVID, we pivoted, like many people did, and we're able to provide our training through an online virtual type process that is self-paced. And so yes, where did you go, Meryl? We would love to get to you to provide this training because we have gotten to the T in a way that is important and should be highlighted. And everyone, and the way that we appeal to folks is like, if you're a professional and your job is to serve people, that means trans people too. And so if you want to be the best professional you can be, take our training. Check us out, lgbtcleveland.org. Click on the tab that talks about our training and get in. We'd love to support you.
So continue following our 4 nonprofits on their journey. Remember, fundraising is both an art and a science, and sometimes there's a little magic sprinkled in it.
Thank you. Thank you, Phyllis Harris, Jazmin Long, Jill Rizika, Denise VanLeer for joining us today at the City Club today, and of course, thank you to Lita for moderating today's conversation. And of course, thank you to all of you for being with us today. Forums like this one are made possible thanks to the generous support from individuals like you and like many of our current supporters in the room. To learn more about the City Club and how you can support us, including through our Guardians of Free Speech campaign, please go to cityclub.org, where you can also access our archives. We'd also like to welcome students joining us back again today from MC Squared STEM High School, as well as guest tables. We love it when they come. As well as guests at tables hosted by Birthing Beautiful Communities, the Cleveland Foundation, Deaconess Foundation, the LGBT Center of Greater Cleveland, and Towards Employment. Up next at the City Club of Cleveland on Friday, May 10th, we will hear from author Leah Rothstein on how our communities can begin to undo segregation's damage. Evelyn Burnett, co-founder of Third Space Action Lab, will moderate. Then on Friday, May 17th, Jody Ruderin, editor-in-chief of The Forward, will join us in conversation with Andy Geronimo, director of the First Amendment Clinic at Case Western Reserve University's School of Law, on the complexities that journalists have faced in reporting on the war abroad and anti-Semitism here in the United States. You can get your tickets and learn more again about these programs and others at cityclub.org. And that brings us to the end of today's forum. Thank you to our members, guests, and friends of the City Club. I'm Kristen Baird Adams, and this forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.
Production and distribution of City Club forums on IdeaStream Public Media are made possible by PNC and the United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland, Incorporated.